Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth is rotated and the sun is hitting the earth is rotated around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here that has joined us on our program tonight. Let us start here as we've been doing for probably 2 years now. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. I would ask that everybody please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the
America's finest right there.
America's finest right there. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet coming to us from the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The host of the Barbershop Convention gave us the Pledge of Allegiance, and we appreciate that. We salute the United States Armed Forces every day on this channel. We congratulate them on the job well done, as well as our allied armed forces, wherever they might be around the globe, as well as here in the United States. Yes, folks, there are allies and their air forces, their Marines, their Army, their navies here in the United States. I can guarantee you that because I've seen it. We want to thank them for their service, and we ask the Lord to bless them that they might be able to return home to their families after their tours of duty end. And thank you all for your service. God bless you all. Folks, as we've been doing for quite some time, I'm going to start off this program talking about earthquakes. Okay? Talking about earthquakes. I'm going to take you for a brief time here on this program, and we're going to show you the earthquakes that have happened down in the South Pacific and a little bit of around the world. This earthquake in the far South Pacific, folks, this is near the Bellany Islands, south of New Zealand. This is the world's largest earthquake today. This is a 5.9. It came in as a 6.2, and they downgraded it to, again, the 0.9 society, 5.9 magnitude earthquake. This happened this morning at 06:31 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, we also had an earlier earthquake before that. This is down just northwest of Christchurch, New Zealand. It was a 4.2 moderate earthquake. This was probably one of the deepest earthquakes today. It was 70 miles deep, which means it was probably down in the plastic magma area in what they call the asthenosphere. Okay? This is the deepest earthquake today. A 4.2 moderate earthquake, 70 miles deep. I'm going to back it out some more. Okay? That earthquake that happened over here just northwest of Christchurch on the South Island of New Zealand was right on that secondary earthquake fault. The southern Tonga Fiji Ridge. You can see it coming down out of Fiji here. Okay? That Tongan Ridge goes all the way from Tonga and Samoa all the way down here to New Zealand. Okay? It crosses over into the South Island of New Zealand here. And you can see it here. Okay? It crosses through the South Island of New Zealand. However, let's go back here and look at this other one. This Fiji Ridge, this trench, okay, stretches all the way from Fiji. It goes through the North Island here. Okay? It goes through the North Island, and it undercuts the Topo volcano right here. It goes underneath the Topo volcano and hits just here on this other volcano south of Topo. Okay? It continues south. Okay? It continues south over to where this earthquake hit. That's why this earthquake hit today. It was on a huge earthquake fault. A huge earthquake fault. Okay? So I wanted to explain that one. Okay? Going further west. Again, this is in Vanuatu. As we have reported in previous episodes of this program, Vanuatu's got hit in a lot. It's had a 7.2 about a year ago. It's had 6s all over the place even this year. Today, another moderate 4.6 earthquake hit here. Okay, this was only 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. We go west into Papua New Guinea. This is another large earthquake here. 5.0 or 5.9 are considered to be large earthquakes. So this is a mid-range 5.5 large earthquake. Let's zoom in and take a look at it. Okay, it hit on land. In the past month, we've also seen another 5.0 further northwest. This hit here. Okay, 62 miles southeast of Popodetta, Papua New Guinea. Okay, now there are people that live here. I have not received any report of injuries or damage yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some. 5.5 magnitude earthquakes are very destructive, especially in this part of the world. Even though this part of the world has a lot of earthquakes, they're a secondary country. Okay, their government is not such that they have building codes and other laws to make sure people are protected, as we in the United States, and Australia, New Zealand, and Britain and other places have. So this is a serious earthquake here. A 5.5 earthquake, 36.9 miles deep. Okay, that's about 50 kilometers deep, by the way. Okay, we go further west. Okay, down here, this I believe, well, I don't believe, this is South Central Java. Okay, or not Java, South Central Indonesia. It's east of Java. It's east of Java. Java is over here. This is further east. Kepulauan Babar, Indonesia. This is another 5.3 large earthquake. This is 77 miles deep. 77 miles deep. That is down in the asthenosphere. Now, let's look at it. Okay? It's in the water. It's nowhere near land. Okay? For all intents and purposes, this is no man's land. The water of the ocean here, the Banda Sea, actually absorbed the shock waves from this earthquake. Now there is an island right over here. Okay. I guess it's not going to be able to let us show any closer than that. This is a volcanic island here. Okay. This may be occupied. I don't know. But I will be finding more out about this as well. This happened this afternoon at 1:13 this afternoon Eastern Time. Okay. Further, over here in northern Indonesia, this is a 4.8 moderate earthquake, 114 miles north-northwest Gorontalo, Indonesia. Gorontalo, Indonesia. This is 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Okay? Now, this is the only earthquake that's been reported here in China today. Okay? This is actually in Pakistan, Tajikistan area. This is another moderate 4.0. This actually happened yesterday evening. They're still showing it to us, and that's good. But what about the rest of Europe? Not a thing. What about the Middle East? Not a thing. There are earthquakes all over this region. Literally all over this region. Over here in the Indian Ocean, this is another large 5.2. There's a lot of fives here, all over the southern hemisphere. A 5.2 large earthquake hit down here in the Indian Ocean. The shock waves were absorbed by the Indian Ocean waters. This is another 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Now, I've already shown you several other earthquakes 10 kilometers deep. Some of you might ask, especially if you're new to this program, why all of a sudden are we having a lot of 6.2 mile deep earthquakes, 10 kilometer deep earthquakes? Because the agencies have two reasons. Number one, if it's actually 6.2 miles deep. The other issue is this. They say sometimes they're not able to ascertain exactly how strong they are and how deep they are. So they automatically point to these earthquakes as being 10 kilometers deep or 6.2 miles deep. If they don't know, they slap that on there as the depth of the earthquake. However, given our knowledge that these agencies are so well equipped, which they are, they know the locations of these earthquakes, and I know for a fact they have the sensors out there that they can pinpoint the location and the depth of these earthquakes to literally within kilometers. So I don't take their saying that these earthquakes are 10 kilometers deep. I think they just tacked it on there. So historians will look and say, wow, they had a lot of large earthquakes that day, and they were all 10 kilometer deep earthquakes. The agencies don't want to admit how strong these earthquakes are, and they have downgraded several of the earthquakes. Why not tack on one more thing? 10 kilometer deep earthquakes. So future historians will look at that and say, well, that's interesting that that part of the world had a lot of earthquakes that day, and they were all the same depth. Let's look at one other thing. Down in Indonesia and the South Pacific down here, there are 7 different plates. 7 different plates. They are all subducting one under the other. So I'm going to throw it out there. How can every one of these earthquakes that cover at least 8 or 9 different plates, how can they all be 10 kilometer deep earthquakes? They can't. There's no way in heck they can. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. Not only that, look at how many earthquakes there really are. Look at how many earthquakes there really are down here in the southern hemisphere, southwestern hemisphere. Okay? They are not being honest with any of us. They're not being honest with any of us. Okay? There's a lot more earthquakes, for example, in Indonesia. There's a lot more earthquakes down here in New Zealand. There's a lot more earthquakes up here in the Philippines that they're not showing us. They're showing us one earthquake over off the west coast of Luzon, Philippines, the northernmost island in the Philippines. It's just off the coast. This is another 4.9, 5.0 earthquake. They downgraded it from a 5.2. Okay? This happened at 3:16 a.m. this morning, Eastern Time, off the coast of Luzon Island. The waters here absorbed the shock waves of this earthquake. Yes, it was probably a 5.0, 5.2. Offshore, it absorbed the water, absorbed the shock waves in the water. But people that lived here had some kind of jolt this morning. Okay? You can't have this size of an earthquake offshore and not feel something. Okay? Not feel something. Over here in Taiwan, this was another moderate earthquake. This is a 4.3. Okay? It's a small end of a moderate earthquake. A 4.3 earthquake hit here, and this is about 100 miles south of the capital of Taiwan. Now, I don't remember what the capital's name is right now off the top of my head. I saw it a little while ago and I just can't remember it. But it's about 100 miles south of the capital of Taiwan. They did feel some shaking here. They had to have. This is a moderate earthquake. Moderate earthquakes usually shake pictures off of walls. They make knickknacks fall off of shelves, and books fall off of shelves. They're more of an irritant than even an earthquake. But this is always a heads up. Any earthquake that we feel that is smaller than a large, potentially dangerous earthquake is a heads up earthquake. That we can have larger earthquakes. And these people felt this. They had to have. Okay? Large earthquake. There are earthquakes here in Japan that again USGS turns their heads and say, "Oh, we didn't know. Oh, we didn't realize that." Earthquakes here in the Aleutian Islands area. Okay, they're showing us one. This is south of Adak, Alaska. This is a 1.9 magnitude tremor. Okay, it wasn't in or near any of the islands. It was south of Adak. Okay, nobody felt that. No one around. We had one earthquake that just happened. Okay, just happened. There's a couple of them. This is a 0.5. A 0.5 earthquake, guys. Why do you think that happened? Why do you think it could happen? Old Ililama Volcano. Old Ililama Volcano. That's a 0.5 microquake. This is a 1.4 tremor. They say this is 47 miles north-northwest of Karluk, Alaska. This is right next to Old Ililama Volcano. South of there is a 0.7 microquake. These earthquakes here, all of them, there's a small swarm of them. They all belong to Old Ililama Volcano. Old Ililama Volcano. Then we move further north. Guess what, guys? Mount Redoubt Volcano. They say this is 1.5 tremor. 41 miles east-northeast of Pedro Bay. No, it's not east-northeast. It's west-northwest of Pedro Bay. Oh, this is Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt. Northeast of there is another earthquake. But guess what? Go figure. Go figure. I can't stand this agency. Just a second, I've got to go out, come back in, and show you the rest of what happened here. Because there's at least one other earthquake that's really pertinent to our program tonight. And we're going to show it to you. Okay? We're definitely going to show it to you. Okay? Like I said, Mount Redoubt. There's a 1.1. There's a 1.5. Here's a 1.1 again, and out here near San Pedro is a 1.1 near Happy Valley, Alaska. Happy Valley, Alaska. Going north, just north of Anchorage, Point McKenzie is another 1.92.0 earthquake. Okay? Northwest of there, Skvitna, Alaska. It's a 1.2 tremor. Okay? We go up into this Denali Ridge. Okay? Denali National Park. It's a huge ridge. It happens to be the spine of Alaska, the edge of the craton here. This is a 1.3. Okay? These are east of a great big huge mountain. Okay? Can anybody tell me what mountain this is? It's in Denali National Park. It's not Mount Whitney, that's in California. Can anybody tell me what this is? It's the largest mountaintop in the northern hemisphere. Think about that. Yes, McKinley. Linda Covington got it right. Mount McKinley, guys. These earthquakes, these tremors are just east of Mount McKinley. North of McKinley up here, still in Denali National Park, guess what, guys? We have a 2.6 earthquake. You can have as many tremors as you want, but as soon as we get to the upper side in earthquakes, and this is just a minor quake, but it's a 2.6 earthquake. The seismicities are increasing here. Denali National Park. We go north. Central Alaska. This is Stevens Village. It's a 1.4. East of there, they say this is Central Alaska. Why don't they give us a reference point? Why don't they give us the name of a city? Because, folks, this agency is inept. Plain and simple. There's an earthquake here in Alaska that bothers me. We've had 2 smaller earthquakes up here in Kattegat in the past 3 days. This is a 3.3. This is a 3.3 small earthquake up here in Kattegat, Alaska. Why does it bother me? Because, again, the strength of the earthquakes have increased here. It's gone from 2.0 and 2.3 up to a 3.3 here in Kattegat, Alaska, just south of the North Shore, where we've been pumping oil and gas out of for several decades. Okay? That should bother everybody. Because 4 years ago, just days past 4 years, we had a 5.0 earthquake up here in Kattegat, Alaska, 2 days prior to the Ridgecrest earthquake. Prior to the Ridgecrest earthquake. Almost 24 hours later, we had a 6.3 magnitude earthquake just south of Queen Charlotte Island. A 6.3 very strong earthquake south of Queen Charlotte Island. The next day, the very next day, we had 2 6.9s down here in Ridgecrest, California. 2 6.9s. Today we have a 0.7, This is a 1.7 here, and this is another 1.1 tremor. Tremors over here in Ridgecrest and Searles Valley. The next day, July 24th, approximately 12 noon in Utah. The Ridgecrest earthquake was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. The two 6.9s the day before that were deemed 6.9s. One of them, even though there were two separate and distinct earthquakes, and I still have those earthquakes pinpointed, two separate and distinct locations, 6.9 earthquakes, USGS makes one go away and keeps the other and downgrades it to 6.4. The next day we have the 7.1 earthquake in Ridgecrest. Okay? That's what bothers me. Increased seismicity up in Katavik, Alaska. What are we worried about here? I see history possibly repeating itself. The only difference is we don't have quite enough earthquakes like we had 4 years ago. That's the good thing. Just west of these earthquakes near Ridgecrest and Searles Valley, this is a 1.0 tremor in Inyokern, California. Southwest of here is Bodefish, California. This is a huge volcanic range. A huge volcanic range here. We've been getting hit with tremors and earthquakes here in Bodefish, California. There's volcanic cones and craters all over this area. And you can see the lava fields still here on the satellite. Okay? This is probably a magmatic earthquake. Further southwest on the Garlock Fault, near Tehachapi, one of the most dangerous areas in California when it comes to car travel and earthquake movement. It's on the Garlock Fault. This is a 1.3 tremor here. 8 miles southeast of Tehachapi. Earthquakes are happening, aren't they? Yeah, you better believe it. You better believe it. Further south, this is Sylmar, California. We've been having a lot of seismic activity here as well. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. And as you can see, going further south in and around the San Andreas Fault, this is a 1.3 in the Redlands, just in the area of the San Andreas. Further north, this is Devore. We've had plenty of large 5.0 and larger earthquakes here in Devore. This is 1.4. Further south, Cabazon. We've been seeing swarms of earthquakes here in Cabazon. This, folks, is in the Anza-Borrego Desert area, the Anza Gap. As you can see, coming further down the San Jacinto Fault, we have other earthquakes here in the Anza Gap area. This one is a 0.5. This one's a 1.3. Okay, let's go further into San Diego County. This one is a 1.1 tremor in my old stomping grounds in Lakeside, California. 1.3 tremor. Further west, we've talked about where this earthquake is. Yes, it's out in the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Encinitas. This is on the Rose Canyon Fault. Further north, it joins up with the Newport Inglewood. This fault is capable of a 7.0 earthquake. This is 14 miles west-southwest of Encinitas, North San Diego County. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? What I have been saying about these earthquakes here? We have reason to be bothered, don't we? Down here in the Imperial Valley, this is a 1.5 in Calipatria, California. We talked about Calipatria before, haven't we? They say this is 1.5, but it's not the only earthquake that is hit here. It's a tremor, but it's not the only one. Usually when I pull the Calipatria seismogram, it shows 100 to 150 earthquakes. This one here is just north of the shoreline of the Salton Sea Lake here. It's an inland sea. It's an inland sea. A lot of people called it a lake. For years in the late 40s and early 50s, people came here from all over Southern California, from Hollywood and Los Angeles, to sun themselves and play in the Salton Sea. Now we're having earthquakes. This is a 1.0 tremor right next to the Salton Butte volcano. The Salton Butte volcano is over further out into the water. So this is next to the volcano. Okay, so I've shown you two tremors, haven't I? What I also need to tell you, if you have just joined this program and haven't seen it before, there are 6 geothermal plants over here in the Imperial Valley. Man has dug into the earth, they drilled into the earth to obtain steam from the Salton Butte volcano to power turbines to generate electricity for Imperial Gas and Electric. There are 6 separate and distinct geothermal systems here. Okay? Such as this. As you see right here, there's 3 different banks of turbines that are being powered by the steam from the Salton Butte volcano to generate electricity here. There's 6 other facilities here in the Imperial Valley. We showed 2 earthquakes. Like I said, if I pulled just the Calipatria seismogram by itself, we'd see at least 100 to 150 earthquakes all throughout this area. If I went down here into Westmoreland here, yes, we have the town of Westmoreland here, we'd see probably 25 to 30 more earthquakes and tremors in Westmoreland. Now I could go further down here into the town of Imperial, California, and I could pull this seismogram and see another 25 earthquakes and tremors here. And yes, I could go further south over here. I could go over here in the Holtville. Holtville is another town of about 25,000 people. I could pull a seismogram from here with the Salton Sea Desert Research Station, and we have had at least 30 more tremors and earthquakes here. And that's not all, folks, because guess what? Over here at El Central Naval Air Station, there's another seismograph here. In the past weeks, we've seen another 20 to 30 earthquakes here. These are at least 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes. These are of the strong variety. No, they're not large earthquakes. They're not very strong earthquakes, but these are felt earthquakes here at the Naval Air Station. And no, it's not from the planes landing or taking off. Okay? But I haven't told you about there's one other seismograph here. This is Bombay Beach, California, on the eastern side of the Salton Sea here. Bombay Beach, folks, has been having 3.5 to 4.5 earthquakes here for months, if not probably a year and a half. Very, very important place. This, folks, is on the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault here in the Imperial County. So we're seeing anything from 4.5 to 1.0 tremors throughout this whole area. Interesting, huh? Let's go down here to this small cache of earthquakes here. This is Heber, California here. This is a 1.5 tremor. That's a 1.6. This is a 2.3 earthquake. This is a 1.7 tremor here. So as you see down here, just north of the US-Mexican border, we're having earthquakes and tremors here. And this is USGS reporting it. What are they not reporting all over this valley here? Okay? And one other thing west of here, this is just south of the border. This is a 1.7 tremor. South of the US border. Southwest of Imperial Valley. Okay? That's Southern California. That's what worries me. And there's another place that worries me, just like Michael McKinney just a few minutes ago said. And I'll get to that in just a second. Over here in the Pacific Northwest, this bothers me a great deal. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake 4 miles west-southwest of Lowell, Washington. Okay? The Puget Sound area, guys. The Puget Sound area. Northeast of there, over here in Washington State, near the town of Granite Falls, Washington, we've got an explosion. They're calling this an explosion, ladies and gentlemen. It's right between two quarries. It's right next to one of them. That's just barely to the southeast. They're calling this a 1.5 explosion. This is a quarry blast. This is a quarry blast, guys. This is 0.2 miles deep. This is a quarry blast. They're trying to say it's an explosion. Yeah, it is at a quarry. It's at a quarry. Interesting. Very interesting. Now, I want to show you this. This is a 1.5 explosion. Spontaneous combustus carnivorous. Spontaneous combustus carnivorous. An exploding tree. It just looks to be right out here, just outside in a meadow, possibly being in a light forested area here in Washington. To the west, about a mile west, we have a quarry. They're saying this is an explosion. This is a half-mile deep. Okay? A 1.5 explosion about a mile east of Quarry. Folks, I've got a question for you. We have Mount Rainier down here about 15 miles southeast of there. Could this be affiliated with Mount Rainier? And they're not showing anything here at Mount Rainier today, which is a lie, because I can show you earthquakes and tremors at Mount Rainier today, but they're not telling us anything. Just west of Mount St. Helens here, just to the right of your slide there is Mount St. Helens. West of there, this is another 1.4 tremor here, 19 miles east of Castle Rock, Washington. It's about 3/4 of a mile northeast of a highway. Okay. There's also a river there. Also a river. This is as close as we can get to it. A 1.5 explosion 1 mile northwest of Mount Hood. Really? Spontaneous combustus carnivorous here too? Folks, this is a mile deep. We don't get explosions 1 mile deep. Okay? I will bet you that there is an actually it's not underground, it's in the ground. It's 1 mile deep into the crust. I will bet you that there's a magma chamber down there that is sending magma over here to Mount Hood. Okay? I will almost bet on it. I'm not a betting man. I will almost bet on it. Further south, okay? This is Newberry Caldera, another volcano. A 1.0 tremor at Newberry Caldera in Oregon. Now you can see what appears to be 2 lakes, right? Both of these lakes are in the caldera of the Newberry volcano. 2 separate vents where the Newberry caldera has vented lava out of. This is a magma-centered tremor, a 1.1, 1.0 tremor, 2 miles deep inside this volcano. Okay? Newberry volcano, guys. And yet they don't tell us about any of the other volcanoes here. They don't tell us about Bachelor Volcano. They also don't tell us much of anything here, at least on this map, about Crater Lake. Another volcano that's got water in it, in the caldera. And if that goes, guess what? There is going to be an explosion when the hot magma hits that cold water. Southeast of there, Denio, Nevada, a 2.1 tremor, or 2.1 minor earthquake with a 1.6 tremor. This is at the Oregon-Nevada border.
Location, Iceland region. Last light magnitude 4.2, 4 minutes ago.
Okay. If you can hear on my earthquake monitor I have, it's talking about earthquakes up here in Iceland. That latest one, it was a 4.2 here in Iceland. But again, USGS is not showing anything but this. Okay? These are earthquakes that were here earlier today. Okay? This is a 4.1. This is a 4.1. The last one was a 4.2. And prior to that, there was a 4.3. Let me, if I will, and if you will let me show you something, guys. Let me show you something. Right here, you can see 200 earthquakes. USGS showing us 2. And 2 earthquakes on the north side of Iceland here. Okay? What's really going on? We have a volcano that's just about ready to erupt. And USGS is again playing it off. Those 2 earthquakes up to the north are 1.5 and a 1.3. We have 200 earthquakes with a volcano that is just about to erupt. Look at earthquakes all over that area, guys. "100 earthquakes just in that circle there. Look at the rest of them." Okay? Actually, 200 earthquakes. I thought it was 100. There's 200 earthquakes in that big circle there. And then below that, it's another 10 plus. Okay? That volcano is going to erupt, and we have been monitoring it. We've been monitoring it all night long. I've been checking it almost every hour on the hour. Now, one other place before I hang this up and we can do some exploring here. One other place that I want to talk to you about. Okay? That's south of Iceland. South of Iceland. Right here. They're showing a 4.3 earthquake here. They're showing us this near the Azores. They're saying it's 14 miles south of Russia, nowhere near Portugal. Portugal is half the Atlantic Ocean away. It's half the Atlantic Ocean, I'm sorry. Doggone it. It's half the Atlantic Ocean away from Portugal. Okay? See where these 20 plus earthquakes are? It's on the mid-Atlantic fault. It has nothing to do with Portugal. It has nothing to do with the Azores. Okay? It has everything to do with the mid-Atlantic fault. The Atlantic fault, folks, is expanding. The Atlantic fault is expanding from the middle out. So the eastern part of Europe is getting pushed by the Atlantic plate. The western part of the Atlantic Ocean, or the Atlantic plate, is pushing on the east coast of North America, Canada, and the United States of America. That's what's actually happening here. There's not one 4.3 earthquake. There are 20 earthquakes out here. And our agency is trying to make it seem like nothing's going on. We've been explaining to you about all the earthquakes over here in North America along the East Coast, in Canada and the United States. Up and down the entire East Coast of Canada and the US, earthquakes hitting every day. USGS shows no earthquakes here. That is an out and out fantasy. It's an out and out fantasy. There's a 2.1 here just off the coast of Portugal here. There's an earthquake down here. This one is in the Azores. Okay? That is a 2.6. Now, over here, just barely east of the Strait of Gibraltar that you see here, there's nothing shown on the USGS map. Well, guess what, folks? Sorry to say, strike two, USGS. 3 earthquakes here. 3 earthquakes going from north to south. A 1.6 tremor, a 3.9, and a 2.3. There's a 3.9 and 2.3 just south of there. Okay? 3.9, 4.0 is moderate earthquake basically. Okay? There's an earthquake over here in southern Spain. That's a 2.4. One other earthquake here, and then I'll hang up these earthquakes here with this map. Actually 3, I'm sorry. I said 1, okay? There's 3 of them. Just east of Tenerife. Just east of Tenerife in the Canary Islands. It's a 1.90 tremor. Okay? Over here, this is La Palma Island. This is El Paso, the town of El Paso, La Palma Island, Canary Islands. This is a 1.5. Also southeast of there. Southeast of there, and I'm going to show you this because they've taken it down. On the southeast side of La Palma, there was a 2.4 here earlier, right there. A 2.4 earthquake right there. This is on the eastern side of Cumbre Vieja volcano. Okay? Cumbre Vieja volcano is all of this area here, right up here. Let me try to see if I can zoom into it with the USGS map. See if they'll let me do that. Okay? Well, I'm showing it. How about that? Right here, there's a 2.4 earthquake here. They've taken it down for whatever reason. Okay? USGS is not showing us anything. Not a thing. But here over in El Paso is the 1.5 here. This is a southwestern spine of Cumbre Vieja volcano. And you can see the volcano to the north of there. Now down here near El Paso is where the great big huge eruption happened over a year ago. Okay? It happened on the spine of Cumbre Vieja volcano. Okay? Also, they're not showing the other earthquake off the northwest side of La Palma. That's a 1.7 today. That is a 1.7 today. All right? So that's what's going on. There's some small minor earthquakes down in Puerto Rico as well. But we're not even going to explore those today. We'll talk about them another day. Well, one other one. Let's talk about one other earthquake today. Okay? This is over in Virginia. This is on the Craton, the eastern Craton. the Eastern Continental Divide here in Virginia, in the United States. This is a 2.7 earthquake on the craton, on the Continental Divide. South of there, right here, 2 years ago, August 7th this year, 2 years ago, Sparta, North Carolina, we had a 5.1 here. A 5.1. Killed 3 people, injured I don't know how many, and we have record of a lot of damage because I visited there 1 year after it happened. Then we spoke to 2 city congressmen, or not congressmen, city councilmen there, and a few other citizens, and got the story of what happened that fateful day on August 7th, 2 years ago. Okay? But we'll talk about that another day. But here, just north of there, in Virginia, we have a 2.7 earthquake. Minor earthquake. Okay? But that's what's happening today. You in your world and mine. Now, folks, there's a lot more to talk about here, as you already know. There's a ton of things we need to talk about. Okay? A few days ago, there were some boom booms, not nug fire. These were what appear to be something like a jet plane going boom boom over Southern California. Or not Southern, I'm sorry, Central California. Okay? Like sonic boom booms. These were not sonic boom booms. USGS denies those being earthquakes. Okay? Deny it. Here you see spectrograms showing temperature variations here. Okay? USGS denies it being earthquakes. Look here. It's plain and simple. It's right there. It's plain and simple right there. USGS can deny everything. Okay? It says no data right there in the middle. There was no data there, but above it and below it there was. They can deny anything they want to. The data shows what we see. Okay? I should have shown you this right after it happened. Now, there was talk of a B-2 bomber that ran off a runway in Missouri, Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Yes, you see a B-1 bomber that had run off the runway there. Okay? Yes, it happened. Okay? Whiteman Air Force Base, folks, is a big deal. It is the only United States Air Force base housing B-2 bombers. It's called Whiteman Air Force Base, Joint Base, home to the 509th Bomber Wing, part of the Air Force Global Strike Command. It is the host wing to Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, Bomb Wing, Air Base, Missouri. The Bomb Wing and its fleet of B-2 Spirit bombers serve as part of the Air Force's conventional and strategic combat force. The Bomb Wing can project U.S. air power literally anywhere in the world, just like the B-52s.
Location, Pakistan, class, light magnitude 4.0, 7 minutes ago.
Pakistan 4.07 minutes ago. Anyway, folks, just about a year ago, there was a B-2 bomber that ran off the runway. I showed you a picture. They stood down all 20 B-2 bombers in that bomb wing. It was the only bomb wing housing B-2 bombers. Okay? They stood the entire base down because of a B-2 alleged crash. While it was landing on the runway, it went off the runway. It's back on. It's back on. The bomb wing is active again. It can employ a wide range of precision-guided munitions. And like I said, it can project U.S. air power anywhere in the world. Their mission statement is execute nuclear operations and global strike anytime, anywhere. The 509th Bomb Wing is comprised of approximately 5,600 military members and 2,000 civilian employees. It manages and employs all of the United States Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bombers. It also employs a robust fleet of T-38 Talon trainer aircraft. I have actually flown in a T-38 before, a lot of years ago. The 509th Bomb Wing is the USAF's Air Force's premier bomber unit and sole B-2 Spirit schoolhouse. They train bomber pilots there, training all B-2 pilots in the active duty Air Force and the Air National Guard. Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri is the joint service home of the 509th Bomb Wing, the world's only B-2 Spirit stealth bomber unit. The 509th Operations Group and the 509th Maintenance Group are responsible for the flying mission at Whiteman. They can launch aircraft. They can launch combat air sorties from Missouri to literally any spot on the globe, engaging adversaries with large payloads of traditional and precision-guided missiles. Just to give you an idea of what's going on there. Of what's going on there, guys. We ought to be proud of this great bomb wing. Proud of our military. Now, on top of that, there's a couple other things that I would like to talk about. This is planet Venus in the night skies. Up to the far west of there, to the left, is Mars. This great, beautiful white globe in the sky is Venus. Okay, you can see it. I'm proud of that. Rob sent me that. It's beautiful. Surgery says we're lucky to have the air base and the nuclear cruise missiles that Michael McKinney talked about. Lucky. Michael McKinney says the Thunderbirds used to fly T-38s. Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. I flew in the back seat. No, I was not trained, but they took me up. They got permission from my parents when I was like 16, 17 years old and took me up. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Now, there's a guy who's a comedian. His name's Bill Engvall. He got to go up in a Air Force fighter aircraft at Nellis Air Force Base in Colorado Air Force Base in Nevada. And he was met by the general, the Air Force general there at Nellis, addressing him as Commander Engvall. And Bill Engvall, yes, he's driven cars, but he said, "General, I'm the pilot of a scooter." And the general just had to laugh. Nellis Air Force Base fighter wing had asked Bill Engvall if he would like to take a flight in a U.S. fighter aircraft. And he was overjoyed. Bill Engel's comedy skit that he did on stage about this was he was so overjoyed. He got saluted by his plane captain, he was saluted by the general and by other Air Force people. He was in his element. For the first time, he said, I felt like a person, someone of importance besides being a comedian. Then, as the time came to board that great big fighter aircraft, the captain climbed up the ladder to the aircraft. Bill Engvall climbed up the ladder to the aircraft, and then he realized he was about to go for a ride of his lifetime. And all of a sudden, he got the heck scared out of him. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do something that I've never done before. And he got into the aircraft in the back seat. They came up and seat belted him in a great big 3-point harness seat belt. And they put his hat on him that said Engvall here and Engvall in the back. All of a sudden he was a stud. All of a sudden he was a stud. Now the captain of the aircraft punched a button, and the cockpit lid canopy slapped down onto the top of the aircraft and went thud. And Bill Engvall said he just about had a heart attack, because he knew in just another moment that his heart and his eyes would be sitting in the back of his body. The captain of the aircraft said, Bill, are you there? And he goes, 10-4, roger, roger, roger. Bill, you don't have to say 10-4, you don't have to say roger. You can just say yes. Yes, sir, 10-4, roger, roger. Then they taxi out to the runway, and all of a sudden the aircraft starts gaining speed. The captain starts calling off the miles per hour. 100, 200, 300, 400, leaving to tarmac. And we have authorization for tilt up. Tilt up at the time meant straight up. Supersonic travel straight up into the air. And his aircraft shot straight up into the air. At that point in time, he said he felt the pressure of 5 Gs, just as they told him he would. His eyes were in the back of his head. He had no more lungs. His stomach no longer existed. It came out into a bag that he had there. Before he flew, he called the aircraft commander and said, what should I eat prior to us going zoom down the runway? The aircraft captain told him, oh, just have a peanut butter sandwich. And Bill asked him, why is that? Because it'll come up tasting just as good as it went down. Incredible. Incredible. Anyway, then they went to be inverted. For those of you that don't understand what inverted means, if you saw Top Gun, any episode of Top Gun, you saw inverted flight, where they're going through the air just like this, and all of a sudden they're like this, flying upside down. And Bill all of a sudden saw the ground below him, and yet he was not going anywhere near it. Then they inverted it again and twisted it over. And then they went flying up and straight and wig-wagged the whole place. Everyone thought it was fun, except Bill, wishing he had eaten more so at least he could have gotten rid of everything that could have been in his stomach, but he couldn't. Then the captain asked him, would you like to go flying? And Bill says, sure. Where are we going to go? He goes, how about we go wing-wag some cars on the roadway in the Mojave Desert. Now, Bill had been told about these Air Force pilots wing-wagging cars in the Mojave Desert. This was the Air Force playground, where they wing-wagged and they dropped munitions and they shot up the hills in the Mojave Desert. And so here they are flying at subsonic and sonic speeds and going down below at 600 miles an hour, 400 miles an hour, and they're zooming through the Mojave. Then they got right behind this gentleman in a 60s, 70s model station wagon. And the captain came over the air to Bill and said, Bill, how'd you like to really find out how fast we're really going? Bill says, 10-4. How are we going to do that? He goes, we're going to fly by a car on the roadway. And that's exactly what they did. They flew right back by that station wagon. Right by that station wagon in the Mojave Desert. And Bill turned his head as far as he could. And he saw that station wagon all over the road as they passed it, flying at nearly subsonic speeds. I bet that station wagon driver will probably never experience that again. Okay? Now there's a reason I told you about that. I'll talk to you about it again in a minute. Last night, over in New Jersey, there was a fire on board a freight ship containing containers, a cargo ship. There were cars that caught on fire deep inside the hull or the hold of the cargo ship. The cargo ship was carrying 5,000 cars at a New Jersey port. Newark, New Jersey's fire department arrived. 2 firefighters were killed battling the blaze that began when cars caught fire deep inside the hold of the cargo ship. Folks, we are mourning the loss of 2 more firefighters, doing what 1 they loved and 2 had trained for. God be with their families. God bless them. You firefighters that gave your lives, thank you for your service. God be with you until we meet again. Now, we know our military works hard. A lot of us have worked hard every day of our lives. Life on the farm teaches us a long, hard lesson. That hard work is a must, not a privilege. Hard work is a must. A lot of us have worked hard throughout our lives. I've worked on many farms throughout my life. I know what hard work is. I thought farm work was hard until I became a police officer. And work got even harder. I want to spend the rest of the time I have on this program talking tonight about a talk that Glenn Beck aired on his program last night. It was a talk that he gave in April to a group of people in Virginia. This group, guys, was a group that was organized called the 1607 Project in Virginia. It's a group of hard-working Christians. And Glenn Beck was called and agreed to address them. He talked about what is happening in America. It's not just happening there in America, but literally all over the world. It's just not an American thing. Glenn Beck said the message that he gave last night was a message to the world. This happening around the world is not being shared by the media. They're not even letting anybody else know much of what's happened. Last week we showed you pictures of migrants in France rising up because they had been lied to. Before they rose up, last year when they were invited to France, and not just to France but to Germany and many other countries around the world, their hosts in those countries welcomed them at airports and ports around the world with signs that says, "Welcome migrants, we want you here." Now, those migrants are destroying worlds around the world. They're destroying people's livelihoods. They're destroying people's lives. People have been killed by friendly fire from the police. People have been killed by rocks and bottles and Molotov cocktails from these migrants. People have been killed all around the... And why? The people are rising up. It's not a right and left thing. This is truly the elite versus the people. We all are out in our own communities, in our towns, in our cities, in our states, in our neighborhoods. This is not hard to do, folks. What we're going to talk about tonight is not hard for us to do. The only hard thing to do is open our mouths. We all know what the problems are. This is not something that would take long to fix. This is not something that would take long to fix. All we have to do is to return to principles. Principles that all of us have been raised with. Principles that we all have been raised with. Principles of moral and moral character. Principles. But everything is being changed. It is a fundamental transformation that Barack Obama told us that he was going to do. He told us that he was going to transform America. This is not a left and right. This is elites versus all of us, the people. Now, I truly think, just as Glenn Beck said, that Satan thinks he is going to win, that he is convinced that he has everything cornered, that he has everything that's going to happen, and he knows that. he doesn't know squat. Satan is in for a real surprise. Everyone around the world needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear this message. And I would urge all of you, after this program, after we get through giving you this program, to go over and hear Glenn Beck's message. It would take you probably 40 minutes, 45 minutes to hear it. But this is a message that needs to be heard around the world. Over 19,000 people have heard it. It needs to be heard around the world. Everyone, they're all looking for an answer. America is the only place that has enough God in our communities. America is the only place in the world that has enough God in our communities, or what is a remnant of what we used to have. That remnant, folks, were my grandparents, my aunts and uncles that are now gone. I believe that I am one of the answers, as all of you are. All of us are. Please listen to what I have to say. And then listen to what Glenn Beck said. Glenn Beck said that a couple years ago he went to visit a friend of his just before Christmas. And when he arrived, there was a Chinese woman sitting in his living room. His friend introduced him to the Chinese woman. She was on the floor straightening out rows and wires of Christmas lights. And then suddenly she burst into tears. Glenn asked her why she was crying. And she said that when she was in a prison camp in China, she was making these lights. When she was in a prison camp, her Chinese brothers and sisters in the prison camp were chanting, "America will die. America will die." Glenn Beck was shocked. And he asked the lady why they chanted, "America will die." And she said, "The only way for you Americans to really understand what you have is for you to die." Not just Americans, but people from around the world do not understand what we have. We don't understand what we have. God ceases to be God if he doesn't keep his part of the bargain. On this program and other episodes of this program, and during our Sunday school classes on Sunday, our Come Follow Me Sunday school classes, we have talked about covenanting with Christ, making promises to our Savior. God covenanted with us, each and every one of us, in the Old, the New Testament, going forward. God promised us that if we would do the things which He commanded us to do, that He would do His part as well, to turn things around and make things better. God covenanted with us, you and I, all of us, if we obeyed the commandments and did what we were taught to do, He would do His part. Glenn Beck said that, and I've heard this many times, I've heard his story. Glenn Beck is a reformed alcoholic. He gave up alcohol a long time ago, but it would be so easy to start all over again and be that same person that he used to be. It would be so easy to turn his back on what he has and return to be that person that almost lost his life to alcohol. Brothers and sisters, Glenn Beck found the Lord. Glenn Beck had been taught the gospel of Jesus Christ. When Glenn Beck went to be baptized, he covenanted with the Lord. Lord, if I do what you ask me to do, even the night that he went down into the waters of baptism, if he did what he was asked to do, Lord, will you still bless me like you promised to do? Guess what? God does not break promises. Glenn Beck told about his story, what happened to him and his conversion to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Even when he got down into the waters of baptism, he prayed, Heavenly Father, if I do what you want me to do, will you please bless me and my family? God does not go back on his promises. He has told us that he will take away our sins and take away our burdens. That's why he was crucified on the cross, to wash away our sins and take upon him our burdens. And he will relieve him and all of us of that misery that we have had. But I have to do the work. We have to do the work that we must do. We can't just sit here. We can't just sit here and think that the Lord's going to bless us when we do nothing. Blackbird said there's always a black sheep in a family. There is. But even those black sheep can turn around. Each one of us can turn around. Tank says, isn't he a Mormon? They have different beliefs. No, they don't. If you think they have different beliefs, you need to research the Mormon Church. They are as Christian as you and I. Don Patoka says, Tank, does it matter? No, it doesn't. Mormons are as Christian as anybody. Catherine Sigerson says, I'm the black sheep because I'm prepared. No, Catherine, you're not the black sheep. Your family might think so, but you're the one that's setting the example. You are the shepherd, herding your sheep and doing the things that you need to do. Brothers and sisters, today, now, and the rest of your lives, consider where you are today. Consider where you are today. Find out where you're going. Find out where you are and where you want to be. And then do what you have to do to get there. I can't save you. I cannot save you. That is up to you. Each and every one of us. It's up to us. Brothers and sisters, I accepted Christ as my Savior a long, long time ago. Yes, I too was baptized, but I accepted Christ as my Savior. I have done a lot to show Jesus Christ what kind of man I am. Yes, I am sorry for other things that I've done that may not have been right. Yes, I have paid the price for those sins, and I've turned around the corner, just as Glenn Beck did. No, I was not a drunk. I didn't lose everything like Glenn Beck had. He almost lost his life. He lost his family to alcohol. I didn't get that far. I lost a lot. I repented. Brothers and sisters, each of us are on the road to where we need to be if we want to get there. Brothers and sisters, there's not one person here tonight that can't go where they need to go, that can't go to where they want to go. But it is you that are going to take yourselves there. It is each of us, you and me, that are going to turn things around for our nations and our countries. Each of us must stand up for something. We must stand for something. We must stand in holy places. We must stand for something and open our mouths and say something that can help someone else grab hold of the iron rod and go forward. Brothers and sisters, think about it. Think about where you're at. Don't just think that you're down in a... Folks, I'm sorry. Are we back? Are we back, guys? I didn't mean to start that video. Okay, Vicky says 5x5. Catherine says that. S. Snort, Demon Cat, Don Pasoka. Great. We're back. I don't know what happened, guys. I had nothing to do with that. YouTube's kicked us off the air before. It wouldn't surprise me. Folks, it's up to us. It's up to each of us to do what we have to do. It's up to each of us to change our lives. Nobody else is going to do it for us. It's up to each of us to change our lives and put them in the position that we want to be in. Now, Glenn Beck started out his program last night. He said that he was not going to warn anyone anymore. He says, I'm done warning the people. What he did say last night is that he was going to start with making covenants with the Lord. He said he was going to start teaching about making covenants with the Lord. That's what he said. Brothers and sisters, I know for a fact who Glenn Beck is. I
Did
have
you
met
know
him.
that you could get $50,000 to over $150,000
The
of
first time I
investment
came-
capital at 0% interest rates to fund any
They,
business
as I
or
said in
investment
that-
that you want?
Stand
That's
by.
right.
clip,
You could quickly and
they
easily access $50,000
so
to over
desperately
$150,000
want
of
us
free
to
money
strike out.
in less than 30 days to
Sorry
invest in
about that.
guaranteed
Hold on a
businesses
second.
and investments, all without having to risk your own cash or credit. And this is even despite all the craziness that's going on in the economy right now. It's true. There's a little-known funding hack only used by the wealthiest investors in America right now, called 0% interest funding. And 0% interest funding is exactly what it sounds like. It's free money that comes without any interest that you can use to invest
I'm
into
sorry, guys.
businesses
Hold on a second.
or
I'm trying to turn
investments
this
to
off.
generate passive income. And this allows you to take advantage of investment opportunities you want to pursue without being limited by the
Okay, I'm sorry I turned it all off. Folks, it's up to us. Okay? I've also been warning the people for quite some time. Yeah, Don Patoka says I'm getting special attention. Oh, I bet I am. I hope so. Demon Cat says gremlins. Yeah, it could be that. But folks, guess what? I'm not going to continue warning people. But I'm going to teach everyone about making covenants, just like Glenn Beck said he was doing. Let me play you a few words that he said last night before he left the speech he was given.
Unfortunately, we don't have a Gandhi yet. We don't have a Martin Luther King. I sat with Billy Graham and I said, Billy, where's the next you? Where is somebody that can call all of us together and we can gird our loins and lock arms and stand peacefully and with love and face evil? He said to me, Glenn, it ain't gonna happen that way this time. He said, I think the Lord is so sick of people like me getting credit for all of his work that he's going to go to the people that are just regular people. Wow. And he's going to talk to them and they're going to say, but I mean, what good is that going to do? I don't have any power. I don't have the tools. How many times do you say that to yourself? I say that to myself all the time. I can't do that. That's beyond me. He's not asking you to complete the whole puzzle. He's asking for your piece to be put down on the table. Yes. You just obey and put the piece down on the table and come what may. Billy told me, Glenn, think of it this way. The Lord is planning an incredible surprise party for Satan. Because Satan he's coming in through the door and he turns on the light and the Lord is like, surprise. And we will all see the mosaic of all of the little people, the foolish who have just been obedient in their little ways, in their circle of influence, and it will be a mosaic that will cover the earth. And only the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob could do that. And the world will know God is with us. Amen.
Okay. He said a handful there. We are the ones that have got to put the pieces of the puzzle on the table. All of us, each and every one of us, have to put the piece of the puzzle on the table. On the table. It can't be just belief. It can't be just belief. We have to do something else. The Lord taught us in the Scriptures, faith without works is dead. Each of us must put the piece on the table. We can bring America back. We can bring Great Britain back. We can bring Portugal back. We can bring South America back. We can bring Canada back. If we can put that piece on the table. To sacrifice everything we have for God. To sacrifice for God. Then, as Billy Graham told Glenn, Jesus Christ has a great, big, huge surprise for Satan. When that door opens, the brightness and glory of the Lord is going to shine round about. And everyone there, the little people, the old people, the young people, are going to be there. Surprise is going to be on Satan, because you and I have taken back our lives, have taken back our neighborhoods, have taken back our communities, our cities, our states, our counties, our provinces, our country. You and I. Like I said in the beginning, it's not right versus left. It's the elites versus the people. You and I, all of us. Brothers and sisters, from the bottom of my heart tonight, right here, right now, I testify that I know Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. I know that. And I know that through the power of the Lord Almighty, we can bring back our countries to the way it was. We can return our countries. It's by, like I said, principle. We have to return principles to our communities. If we don't, we are lost. Brothers and sisters, do it now. Do it now. Do not wait. Do it now. Tomorrow might be too late. Do it now. Brothers and sisters, I've got a little bit blurry on my monitor here, which means, yeah, they're probably buffering a bit, and I'm sorry about that. But brothers and sisters, I know for beyond a shadow of a doubt what we have here. I'm going to continue to preach the word of Jesus Christ. I'm going to continue to tell everyone within the sound of my voice what is going on and what we need to do to turn these wars off, to turn our countries around, to stop the elites from destroying us. I will work until the day I die to make sure that I help each one of you, that I help save our families. That's my promise to you, to each and every one of you. I covenant this day before God and all the angels. I covenant before all of you that I will do whatever I can to help myself, my family, and my fellow men return to a life of abundance, to turn our lives to freedom, to return our lives to Jesus Christ. That's my mission. That is also, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, your mission as well. Brothers and sisters, I want you all to covenant yourselves tonight. Don't covenant with me. Covenant with yourselves and God, what you're willing to do to help bring your communities back and help your families return to God. That's my message. That is God's message to you. That was Glenn Beck's message last night. He said he's been thinking about, his friends that he works with have been thinking about when to air that message, and they picked last night. Brothers and sisters, this is something that we have to do. We don't have any more time to sit and wait. It's our time. It's our time. We're up to bat. We can win the ball game. We can win the ball game. But we all must do it as a team. We all must do it as a team. I have a testimony of Jesus Christ. I know that God lives. God hears and answers our prayers. I know that. We can win the ball game. Us and our Christ, our elder brother, and our Heavenly Father. We can stop all of this from happening. It's up to us. May God bless us this day that we will covenant. We can covenant this day to do what's right. We can covenant this day for the right reason, at the right time, at the right place. Freedom is not free. To have freedom, there is a cost. Vicky K says in the chat, some of the churches have perverted the gospel to the point where it's not even recognizable. I totally agree. I totally agree. That's why all of us, and I will preach from this pulpit for as long as I possibly can. And I will tell you the stories of Christ. I will bless you with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That is my promise to you this day, at this time, at this very hour. May God bless us and stay with us and help us. Yeah, folks, may God bless us and help us and stay with us this day and always. It's up to us, and we can do it. We are a team that the Lord wants us to be here for. We are the team. We can do it. I ask the Lord's Spirit to be with you. God bless you. God bless you this day and always. I love you very much. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you tomorrow night, everyone. Rob, Heather, Demon Cat, Dawn, Diane, all of you. Thank you for your service, mods. I love each and every one of you. I love each and every one of the Emergency Management Associates family. Please, folks, give us a like, a thumbs up on the way out here before you leave. I care about you. Please share this program with everybody. Everyone. Make our family grow here. We're now over 1,400 subscribers here. We're over 1,400 now. We can do it. Let's push us to 2,000, to 10,000, to 20 and 30,000 now. Let's don't stop. God bless you all. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. I love you very much.